You didn't think it would happen. Well, it's here. Okay? I haven't heard you come out and speak against it, all right? But you said in that meeting you would not support that. This is what's going to happen. The consolidation of schools. They're going to be left no other options. Or smart management school, consolidate school boards. All right? That's oppressive, forcing decisions that normally would not be made for the good of our children, okay? These are big issues. Your voucher system. This is not good. My point, it's not good. You pledged you would protect that, sir. I don't think you're doing it.
Well, I did not. There's nothing in our bills that are going to mandate consolidation. I'll let Matt kind of go through the. I'd like to make a comment on that if I could. I'll make it very brief. I've got here in front of me the school funding formula. There's been absolutely zero said about this for decades, and for decades it's been played politics with time and time again. Looking right here at Shoals and Lagodi Community Schools, you guys in Shoals must be much more important. You're getting $7,200 per child. I'm sorry, Lagodi. And Shoals is getting $6,700. But this school funding formula has been played politics with for a long, long time. There's schools up in northern Indiana, and I can tell you here who they are. Gary Community Schools, $9,500 per child. Go 6 miles away to the schools of Hammond, $7,000 per child. Now, tell me why those schools in northern Indiana and their children are any more valuable than all. I intend to put a stop to it if I can. I'm going to work on it very hard, but there is no reason for this to be happening. No reason whatsoever. It's totally disingenuous for the Urbana gang to say they care about schools, and this is the stuff that comes out of their committees. Don't shake your head, Kim. You know it's correct. The chairman of that budget committee has authorized this every single time. And I'm going to put an end to it if I can. The majority will do it. So it's going to be a tough road to hoe. It's getting voted on every single day. And even with the changes that we've made in this thing, today there's 325 school corporations across Indiana. 200 of them are underfunded. 125 of them school corporations are getting $185 million more dollars than what they should be getting today. And that's the fact. Our children are worth just as much as theirs. I intend to see that to the end. And this is politics at its best. Who has the most vote? Who has the most power in the committee? And it's wrong. I intend to fix it.
If I'd had the opportunity, I would have sent my kids to private school. But if these vouchers go to these private schools and the state gets involved, or the 10 Commandments, or their prayers, and all that stuff that goes on at the private school, is all that stuff going to be stopped? And then, once the Lakota kids and the Shoals kids and the Bargate kids take off and go to Jasper and Washington to the private schools, we got to close another school at Lagodi like they've done in the past year or so? What are we going to do with these buildings? We're going to consolidate Shoals and Lagodi. Sell for $1 to the charters. I got mixed feelings about it. I really do. But I think the private schools need to be left private.
I just respond to that. I think you're absolutely right, because you made a very good point on what's going to happen if the children do leave the public schools and go to a charter school or to a private school. You're going to see a dilution of the amount of money going to those school corporations. They're going to have to get rid of teachers. They're going to get rid of programs. They're going to get rid of school buildings, which, as I understand it, for $1, they have to lease that to a charter school, but the local school corporation, as I understand it, would still be required to maintain that school. So the cost of maintenance would still lie with the school corporation that owns the school.
Well, I think you're taking away from both sides. I really do.
Well, I think so too. And And as we have differing opinions here on the effects it would have, and even my dear friend, Mark, and we are good friends, and we've worked together on a lot of things, and I hope we continue to do that. I have tremendous respect for him, and I do for Matt as well, although he and I haven't had a chance to work together on so many things since this is his first year. But we have differing opinions, and I'm curious as to why that all of a sudden we say that we're not going to really see people go to the private schools with vouchers because the private schools probably aren't going to want to meet the state requirements. And I don't know whether they'd be required to do away with the religious classes or not, but my guess is eventually they would. So I think most of the religious schools, most of the parochial schools would not want to participate. So if that's the case, why are we muddying the water, and why aren't we concentrating on trying to make the public schools the best schools we can possibly go? One point on the disparity of the amount of money going from school corporation to school corporation. We have some really good teachers here today. I know some of them, and I know they're very good teachers. I don't know how many of them would want to go to inner city Indianapolis and teach in inner city Indianapolis and go to work, go to school each day in inner city Indianapolis and teach under the circumstances the teachers there had to teach. Or inner city Gary. There is a difference. Every school is not a Lagodi, a Shoals, a Pike Central. The kids can go to those schools and feel a certain amount of safety and security. The teachers can go to those schools and feel a certain amount of safety and security. You're not going to get teachers to teach in those inner city schools for the same pay that they get paid for teaching in a safe and secure school in rural Indiana. There is a difference in school corporations. There are no difference in children. Children need to be treated the same. I would agree with that. They need to each have a very good opportunity for a good education. But the circumstances surrounding those children, the ones who live in the inner cities, the ones who don't have parents who care about them, the ones who go to school every day and not having breakfast, not having anyone to care for them when they come home at night, and they go into school unprepared. That's a tougher situation, and there is a difference. And I would respectfully ask schools that we do, in fact, recognize that some systems are in a little different situation than rural Indiana, where we do have, I think, excellent schools.
I've spent 7 years in the public school system, and I know we have a lot of good, hard-working teachers. I know we do. I know that to be a fact. I also have grandkids. When it comes to the charter schools, there's a lot that happens in the school system. Our teachers are very good, and they teach very well, and they do a lot of different things, but they can't be everywhere all the time. There's a social aspect of school. There's all different kinds of aspects of school. You know, even there's a big issue of bullying right now in a lot of the school systems. So I guess my question is if this voucher system helps me send my grandkids to a school which I think they'll be better socially, better educated, I don't understand what's wrong with me having that choice. I mean, and I can't, and I've heard how it might hurt public education, and I'm probably going to be very unpopular for saying this, but, you know, I've heard, you know, how it would hurt, again, public education and, you know, maybe different things, but I don't see how that hurts me as a parent, and I don't see how that hurts my kids having that choice. And so I guess that's my issue with this whole thing.
You have the school district, and what you're saying is very true. 20 years ago, my children, I lived in Indianapolis, and they went to Northwest High School. And he's talking about initially about children getting an equal education. And my daughter, when she was going to Northwest High School, she got an education on how one child could stab another child. to where he had one or two of his teeth knocked out. When they went to school, I drove them and I watched them walk into the school to see that they got into the school. One day I went into the school and it looked like a total war zone inside. I had to go to the little men's room, and the graffiti on there, I spent 4 years in the Marine Corps, and I saw words in there that I had never heard of in the Marine Corps. And I don't see the problem with, like the gentleman was saying about the chartered schools, how I wish there was something that I could have done. You know, my kids didn't go to school hungry. They were fed breakfast. My kids, there are a lot of kids going to that school that their parents wanted them to get an education. Their parents wanted them to come home and bring books and study. Unfortunately, once my daughter saw the stabbing, she didn't want to go back to school too much anymore. Once my son got the crap beat out of him, he didn't want to go to school anymore. And how I wish there would have been a charter school, there had been something that I could have put my children in to where they would have been safe. Because those Indianapolis schools were this inner city. They're dangerous. They're very dangerous. And those kids are getting an education. They are. But I don't know if you want to get the education that they're getting there. And I don't blame the teacher. When you walk into that area, you walk into that school, and you got monitors that are supposed to keep the peace in there. It's terrible. It's hard. And that was 20 years ago. I dare think what it's like today. That's just a comment.
My understanding of the funding formula that you're dealing with is the fact that my school corporation in Goody is due to lose $900,000 over the next 2 years. We can't absorb that any longer. We've had staff members retire, we got to replace. We closed our building. How are we supposed to make up the $900,000 cut in funding over the next 2 years with your proposal?
This you or Mr. President, I live in Goody, Indiana. You represent people here. We've seen that in Indianapolis as its own representative. If it comes down to taking money away from rural Indiana, and it ends up being moved to suburban Indiana, that does us a disservice. You represent us. Please represent us. And let their representatives represent them. You mentioned the small schools grant. If that disappears, that hurts a lot of the schools you represent. All of them. The general argument that someone in Indianapolis is at a disadvantage, if I lived there, I'd probably be making those same statements about what schools are better than others and what opportunities are. But I'm here to ask you to represent the people you're representing. If you don't, they're not going to.
Amen.
Please support us.
Yes, ma'am.
That's my question to the gentleman here, and I understand his concern for his children and his safety. But if 51% of their parents trigger the charter school, and then school becomes a charter school, how is that different? What would that do for the children? Is it going to change? Probably not, because those same children are going to go there, and they're going to have the same issues. They have to take them. They're just going to go to So how does that correct this problem, even in Indianapolis or Memphis here?
Well, I'd be happy to give you Mary Ann Sullivan's cell phone number, who's on the charter board in Indianapolis, and let you ask her that question, because she's her and the folks on the charter school board are the ones that,
How can you
House Bill
vote for that?
1002 doesn't make charter schools illegal. It lets parents and teachers have a say if they want to switch their school to a charter school. And if you want to know the benefits of a charter school, I'll give you Mary Ann Sullivan's number, who's on the charter school board in Indianapolis, and she can answer that for you. And I can also tell you that the charter schools operate with greater flexibility within their funds. Many of those school corporations here, a lot of the funds are siloed. It allows more flexibility in using the money in different places. They have more flexibility in making decisions overnight. So there's several new things that are going on now or in the charter schools today, which allows greater flexibility.
So is that good for public schools to have that flexibility?
Yes.
So why don't we all have it?
Because the Democrats walked out when we had a bill.
Oh,
So what you're saying is you're replacing public education with public education. Is that what I'm hearing? You still, charter school still has to have the same guidelines.
They're still public schools.
no. But
Exactly. You're just public school for public school.
They're different guidelines.
President Obama is the #1 advocate of charter schools in the country. Okay? Charter schools we're not enacting legislation that allows charter schools to come into, they have been legalized for 10 years. It allows parents that are in a failing school, if you want to know the advantage of the charter school, I'll get you Marianne's cell phone. She can answer it. All we're doing is allowing parents or teachers to authorize the request for that switch. Now, all what it takes to get it set up and what the advantages are, I'll let someone on the charter school board
If you
answer.
can't answer it, don't vote for it. Why are you supporting it if you can't answer it?
We didn't authorize charter schools.
But you're
We're allowing the parents to have a say when that charter
The
school
parents have
switches
to
from
say
the
now,
school
they
board.
don't have to go to that same public school. If they don't like it, they can go somewhere else.
Where-
But the funding is following the student,
Where are those
just like
inner city,
Linville
where are
said.
those inner city parents gonna go?